in the race. Keep out of the haze. Stay THC smart.
Stay THC smart and don't start. Brought to you by Johnny'sAmbassadors.org.
America 250 is a great time to reflect on our country's past, present, and insane savings. BTRN's InsaneRadioDeals.com is celebrating 250 years of America with 25.0% off of everything. This includes savings at great local spots like BNC Sports and Buttercup and Friends, as well as memberships to Rise Up Climbing, Cross White Athletic Club, and a Sea of Red. The InsaneRadioDeals.com America 250 sale. 25.0% off of our entire inventory. Now until August 1st. You will not want to miss it.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, and asking your smart speaker, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane and JJ Hendrickson.
Well, that was fun while it lasted. World Cup. Enjoyed it. Yes, perfect segue to get off of soccer and get into American football. But, overall, this is about as much fun as I can remember over a stretch of the summer where a lot of it doesn't feature a lot of excitement. And so I can honestly say, JJ, I'm going to miss it.
Yeah, the World Cup's always a blast, Ed. And I always go through a little bit of a state of depression when it ends. I never know what to turn on the TV anymore. Just kind of a sad feeling now.
It's especially great for late afternoon entertainment. That's the tennis, again, to get my usher on for a brief second. Obviously, as you know, I'm a tennis aficionado, if you want to call it that. I like it. It's fun. And the best for me is when there's the French Open in Wimbledon, or Roland Garros, as they like to say with their pinky out for those watching at Fastlane, Ed Lane, and VTRN Sports on our streaming platforms, Facebook Live and YouTube. But it's great because you get a lot of entertainment during the workday. It is a welcome distraction during that time frame. And fortunately for us, the off-ramp of the World Cup ending happens as in the next week and change. We'll be going from conference media days. We had the ACC last week. Some great coverage is already up. More will be coming. Fastlane, Ed Lane, wherever you listen to podcasts. But you go from that into the meat of real football season, but you go through kind of this gap, especially when you get toward the end of the college sports season, lacrosse, softball, baseball. We're not a big NBA Finals or NHL Stanley Cup playoff town around here. I guess people pay attention to those when they're in those seasons, but otherwise not. This is good, though. It was fun. It was exciting. And there's certainly elements to it. One, I'm always a believer in wanting to see the best team win, or at least a deserving champion. And for yesterday, it just epitomized what Spain does so well. People will remember this moment as you watched on TV because we did not bring you the coverage on your home for so much great play-by-play. 93.3 FM in the VTRN Sports app. By the way, ours for free.
Poro chance to cross, hooks it in. Williams battling, knocks it down. It's free. It's a goal. It's Ferran Torres.
About half the clip that we played is of the call, the setup, and the goal. And the other half is letting the moment breathe. You ready for my get off my lawn moment, by the way, JJ?
I'm ready, Ed. Let's hear it.
Do you know what's coming?
I do not actually, no.
All right. I like this call from Telemundo to an extent.
Toque atrás, Porro la pone al área. ¡Ah! El cabezazo atrás. ¡Queda el rebote! ¡Gol! ¡Ferran!
Oh, we got to cut it off. I mean, that's just too much. I'm all for the first goal being drawn out on the Telemundo call. Get off my lawn moment right now in the fast lane. I can get behind the second version of it. By the time you get to the third version, it goes from being kind of cool to just being an over-the-top shtick. And again, maybe this is me being the Southern guy for years having to deal with people from New York going, John Sterling, if you don't get him, if you're not from New York or you're a Yankees fan, you just can't appreciate and get him. No, I cannot. He was terrible. God rest his soul, but he was atrocious. And those people criticized, hunker down, you hairy dogs. Larry Munson, former Georgia announcer, or I forget who the guy was in Tennessee or LSU, your typical Homer SEC announcers. Look, to me, I'm not really a fan of all of them. I grew up on Merrill Reese as your favorite team announcer. I'm an Eagles fan. And he and Mike Quick, to me, biased 100% here. But they're a gold standard for team announcers because they're actually willing to be critical. But we also have been fortunate enough here in the fast lane to bring you a lot of great play-by-play over the years. Sunday afternoon, early and late NFL games, primetime NFL games, college football beyond the Virginia Tech Hokies with multiple games of the week. Not to mention similar stuff for college basketball, March Madness, into other sports seasons. Again, maybe I am too much of a high standard, JJ, but the first goal was fine from Telemundo. Adding a second one because of the moment, I can get behind that. The third is just excessive, and just cut it out here. You're becoming a caricature of yourself. You're getting to Gus Johnson, Tony Romo territory. And if anybody knows me, that's not a good place to be.
Yeah, Ed, I actually think that's a pretty good take.
Oh, Joe Tessitore territory as well.
There's another one for you. But I do think that's a pretty good take. You mentioned in the first clip, John Strong, let the moment breathe. And I think that is especially crucial, especially in a moment as big as a goal that's going to win the World Cup final. You want to hear the stadium sounds. You want to hear the crowd reacting. You want to hear the players jumping on each other, all excited. And when you just keep screaming goal over and over again, while it is exciting the first time or two, and I get that's a staple for a lot of these announcers, but the third time did feel a little excessive. You have to let the moment breathe. I think that's absolutely crucial.
My man, I'm glad you understand snobby broadcast discernment that's coming out of my pinky out when I drink tight mouth. Yes, I use some coconut water as a reference because that's one of the two bottles that I have. The other has just got water, in case you're wondering here. It's my wife's Dave Matthews Band bottle. She's got like 8 of these things around the house. But as I say snarkily, but she's generous enough to let me use them. So I get there's kind of some, I might have to, opine and ask for forgiveness on that one. But the point being, I'm fine. I think honestly, when you tune into the Spanish broadcast, you expect some more theatrics. Like if you've ever seen them call an NFL game, I don't know if it's the same announcers or not. We don't air Spanish broadcasts. That's just not part of our Virginia Talk Radio Network portfolio. Nothing against them, but it's not really what we do. That part in those other languages, I'm cool with the theatrics of it. Like I the old, I can say this because I'm insert your, I'm white, I'm gay, which I'm not, but I'm, a man. Like you can say this. I'm going to use this. White people are kind of the most boring people when it comes to some of this, but it doesn't mean you have to be Gus Johnson. Like I think there are plenty of good African-American broadcasters out there or other races. James Brown from CBS Sports is one who comes to mind. Kurt Menefee does a great job with Fox. They've done play-by-play studio work now. Anish Shroff, who's been with us in the fast lane. Obviously, not your traditional white announcer. Great job. All of them are. So I'm not saying you have to just be that. I'm okay with the theatrics, but at some point, tone it down just a smidge. Now, don't let that get in the way of the overall story of the match. Spain dominated this. Like the way in which they won, I was struggling to find the right level of encapsulation until Taylor Twellman, listening to the Rich Eisen Show, noon to 3, VTRN Sports app and 93.3 FM. He's on every weekday. Rich Eisen is. Taylor Twellman was his guest in the first hour today. And had this to say, piggybacking, maybe he's listening to the Fast Lane, Taylor Twellman, because we've done some Americanized analogies of things that have happened in the World Cup. And Taylor Twellman, being more of an X's and O's guy, brought that to the table for us.
I'm going to date myself a little bit, Rich, but remember, what was it, early 90s? What was it, Nolan Richardson's Arkansas Razorbacks, right?
40 minutes of hell. Yep.
40 minutes of hell.
Right.
First of all, are you familiar with that reference?
I am not actually, Ed.
Okay, no problem. You are 24, is that right?
About to be 24, 23 currently.
Okay, when's your birthday, by the way?
August 14th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
2 days before Mama Lane's birthday. Okay, good to know. So you're almost at that age. I wouldn't have expected you to know Nolan Richardson's 40 minutes of hell. That was before your time. But what it basically was is it was high intensity, high pressure defensively the entire game. Hence the 40 minutes of hell. They made 2 championship games. They won one of those, beating Duke fairly handily in 1994 in Charlotte, ironically. The one and only time a Final Four has been held there. But the way in which Spain played, I guess it does make sense. Taylor Twellman explained it in a better way than I could.
It's 40 minutes is what the Arkansas Razorbacks were trying to do to make your life miserable. What Spain does better than anyone around the world is simply when they lose the ball, which is very infrequently because they're so good with the ball. But when they lose the ball, their first reaction is immediately try to win the ball back.
Yeah.
Immediately try to put you under pressure and try to give yourself the difficulty of trying to play out of that pressure, if that makes any sense.
12 shots on goal, 20 total shots for Spain. Argentina was like 1-1. And the one did not come until they were already down 1-0 in the match, and Messi had a desperate attempt at the goal. Maybe they got a couple of extra ones in. But that's the real characterization. The suffocating level of defense. And it became pretty clear early on. I know because everyone cares about everyone cares about our fantasy football teams and our sports betting. But it became early on that if you like to indulge in the sports betting thing, you could have bet, maybe I did, team total under of 0 goals for Argentina. Because it became pretty obvious, JJ, that they were just playing for penalty kicks. Like, it almost looked like they did not have an answer or did not care to have an answer. And they were just hoping to get it to the roll of the dice of penalty kicks. And once they got the red card in the extra time at the end of regulation, after that, it felt like it was just a matter of time of Argentina clinging to dear life. And if they gave up a goal, might as well, it's like Virginia when they were the Tony Bennett era. You could be down by 5 points, but it might as well be 50 because of the way they play, the limited amount of touches. That's what it felt like yesterday as well.
Yeah, it felt like the whole game, Argentina was just chasing Spain around the pitch. And like you mentioned, when Spain loses the ball, they work so hard, they get it back so quickly. And now that is not a tactic that works a lot of the times. A lot of the times, team gets over-aggressive when they lose the ball. You get out of position, and you leave yourself exposed to a counterattack. But Spain is so good tactically. They have such a good team, an 11-man unit, and they absolutely dominated Argentina. It's very, very disappointing from the Argentines. Lionel Messi, what will most likely be his last World Cup game, he barely got on the ball at all, Ed. I mean, he had a few touches down the stretch. He had an opportunity early in the game on a through ball, but he really wasn't able to get anything going, and that's a testament to just how good Spain was. They had a stranglehold on this game, and it felt like Argentina barely had a chance throughout, and then they got the red card, and that just felt like the last nail in the coffin. It was penalties, and even that seemed like a stretch at that point, and they weren't able to make it there.
So some other notes and nuggets on the aggressiveness. We will get to that right now in
It's time for Fast 5 at 5-ish. 5-ish minutes on 5 relevant topics done around 5 p.m.-ish. Ish, because our counting skills are kinda ish. Let's start with number 5.
Could you have acted any more childish than Argentina did after that contest? Not shaking hands, but instead getting into confrontations with Spain. Yo, I know the scoreboard's 1-0. You got your butt wet. Like, just take it like a grown-up rather than whining and complaining. And this is not an anti-other U.S. countries because we have our own problems. Where champions stink at being able to handle defeat the correct way. But the way Spain handled it, getting into altercations afterwards, and then the chicken out, I'm going to try not to curse here, but chickening out of media availability afterwards. Oh, I'm so tough that I can't shake hands afterwards. Oh, I'm so tough I can't have accountability. This drove me nuts back in the, I wasn't a saint in high school, but if there's one thing that got me away from trouble, it's that I could not stand fake tough guy that likes to consume and then just act like a moron. I'm tough. Look at me. I've got liquid courage. You did dumb stuff then. This to me is the equivalent of that in sports. It's fake tough guy nonsense. This is so childish. And don't give me this, by the way, the other thing is sports media personalities love to go, well, in the heat of the moment, how would you expect them to behave? I don't know, like other people can behave, or given what was at stake, or look, they're professional athletes. All the more reason. If high school athletes can shake hands and behave appropriately when they lose, then theoretically more mature and well-compensated professionals should be able to do that as well.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, Argentina kind of had this approach throughout all of this World Cup and all the last World Cup where it's messy and then it's 10 other enforcers on the pitch, a lot of these tough guys. And that tough guy routine looks good when you're winning, but then when it doesn't come through and you end up losing and you can't lose with grace and you continue to try and hold this tough guy character, it just kind of makes a fool out of yourself. I mean, we're sitting here now talking about how ridiculous the Argentinian team looked, not only on the pitch, but after the game. And that's just ridiculous. We've talked about in the past, there are children watching every one of these games. They look up to these players. They are going to act like these players do, want to be like them. When they see something like this, a complete lack of sportsmanship, it's really just bad for the game and bad for the sport as a whole.
I'm going to say something somewhat controversial in the fast lane. I hope these people don't try to come out with their political issues or issues on world order. If they can't handle themselves like mature adults, why should I care what they have to say about adult opinions? Either way, I'm not saying, yay, this candidate, boo, that candidate. I'm just saying, if this is how you behave when you don't get your way, how do you expect me to take you seriously when you want to then chime in on serious issues? You can't handle your own business. Don't expect me to look at you as all of a sudden some educated or role model caliber person when you can't behave like one when it actually matters and it's actually relative to your own profession. Meanwhile,
Number 4.
you might disagree with me on this one. I despise the fact that overtime in soccer competition is not a golden goal. Like, it really gets under my skin. First of all, this is not the NFL where you win the coin toss, take the ball, go down and score, and the other team doesn't get a chance if it's a touchdown. Like, I can understand the gripe with that. I've come around on that. This is closer to most other sports. Hockey, for example, which is golden goal, where each team has chances to possess in overtime. You know, by the way, they've been pouring it out for 90 minutes. Like, in soccer, the way it works, even if one team wins the coin toss and possesses the ball first, somebody's going to be able to have a chance to theoretically take it away and possess it. I get the stats were lopsided yesterday, but that should have been a golden goal. That would have enhanced the caliber of the moment. And realistically, why are we going down that road? Oh, by the way, you can't sit there and say they shouldn't have golden goal and then get mad when you'd rather have, when you get mad at penalty kicks. You can't get mad at golden goal and then get more mad at penalty kicks. Golden goal will eliminate penalty kicks because the winner will be decided on the actual goal in overtime. Everyone knows what's at stake. Again, these are professional operations. College does it for lacrosse and soccer. If college can do it, certainly professionals should be able to as well.
Yeah, they actually did used to do golden goal in the World Cup way back, and then they changed it to full 30-minute extra time period. I'm not sure the exact reasoning why that change happened, to be quite honest with you, but I've always been a fan of the 30-minute period because at the end of the day, it's more soccer to watch. If they scored in the 106th minute, the game would have been right over there. I know it's only 15 minutes of soccer, but to your point, Ed, the play does feel like it drops off a lot of the time in extra time. They do get one extra sub per team, but the legs are heavy. The guys are tired, especially a day like yesterday in New Jersey. I'm sure it was super hot down on the field. So quality did fall off. We see in some other tournaments like the Copa America, if it's not the final, they actually go straight to the penalty kicks at the end of it.
I wish you fully agree with me, but you bring up enough good points about the quality of the performance dropping off afterwards. I think it adds a level of intensity when you have golden goal. And the fact that you had to tell me they used to have this, it rips in my heart all the more. Meanwhile, we'll end it on a positive for the World Cup with this.
Number 3.
Of all the grief people give the United States of America for being a, quote, divided country, and we have our flaws. They are well documented. Turn on the Virginia's Talk Station app and 100.9 FM WIQO or 95.3 FM Bedford, and you'll be able to hear more about that. Can we give ourselves a round of applause? By and large, we seem to have comported ourselves in a non-New York Knicks after a championship series manner. We were welcoming, it seemed. We had accounts from people from multiple other countries talking about what a great experience this was. After the New York people gave us a black eye with the Knicks championship run, not everyone, but certain people up there. This is a nice reverse and a very well showing for the United States of America that, look, there's still a reason in certain areas to have faith in humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy with what the American public did with hosting this World Cup. Every video you see on social media of people coming into the U.S. from other countries, it looks like they are having the absolute time of their life. Everyone welcomed them with open arms. Not only that, we were able to get so much of our country to support our soccer team this year. And anytime you can see the majority of the country supporting one thing, it warms my heart. Obviously, they didn't come through when it mattered most, but at the end of the day, I think everyone's going to look back at this World Cup very positively, both from a U.S. national team aspect and just hosting it in general.
Number 2.
Ryan Fox came out of nowhere. Mid-tournament, you could have gotten him at 500 to 1 odds. I don't bet golf, really, so, I wasn't paying enough attention. Let's just be real here. You don't have to throw down every time there's a sporting event. But nobody expected this guy to come out of the middle of nowhere. I will just say this. It's my kind of golfer, JJ. Played his final round in under 4 hours because he doesn't want to overthink the shots. We're not overanalyzing. By the way, my favorite thing, if you go on the golf course, is the people that pull out the little stint meter and have their little goggles looking at the green. I mean, look, I'm a serious runner, so I'm honestly one to talk and make fun of people being serious in a recreational sport where you're not being compensated. Also, I struggle with tennis as well, just to be real here, in terms of my competitiveness getting out of control. But Ryan Fox, 4 hours, my man, that I can get behind that type of guy.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, a lot of people say it's best to play in the flow state. When you're not thinking about what you're doing and just doing it, you end up playing a lot better. And I guess that's kind of the approach he had yesterday, flying through the course, and it ended up winning in the tournament. So fair play to him.
Number 1.
From NASCAR, from golf to NASCAR. What a natural transition we have in the fast lane. North Wilkesboro. We'll get more into this later in the week, as well as around 5:50 today with Andrew Stoddard, who was covering the race for frontstretch.com at North Wilkesboro. I thought it was really cool to see the track host a points-paying race. The excitement, the fervor around it. I don't think the racing was as bad as some people say, although it was follow the leader. I actually think it was kind of racy in the first third of the race through the end of the first stage. But Joey Logano, once he got the lead, stage 2 and stage 3 really dominated. You're going to have races like this. You especially have them on short tracks. Honestly, people forget that this used to often be what happened on short tracks way back in the day. I actually much prefer non-dominance on these type of tracks, but I understand it's going to happen ever so often. I don't think the racing was terrible throughout. I just don't think it was really good over the second half of the race, to the point where even Denny Hamlin was as blunt as about this afterwards and speaking with frontstretch.com on just giving a hat tip to Logano for his dominance.
We'll assess it, but overall, I thought, the increased horsepower was good. Sometimes you have these races where someone hits it and you got to just say that's a dominating day and the guy deserved to win.
It's not going to happen all the time, and that's where I think Denny Hamlin has kind of a hat tip to Joey Logano attitude, as he said afterwards with frontstretch.com. But the other thing is, if you get a chance to nudge him out of the way you would, that's just how good Logano was.
Yeah, the traffic, was the same for everyone. I had a group of Toyotas that was making it hard on him to get around, and I thought I got caught some breaks, truthfully, with some live traffic. I just think that he was a little better, and there was just nothing I was going to do short of getting close enough to bump him on the last couple laps, but I just couldn't quite get there.
Hamlin at least giving some honest insight, the fact that he would have been aggressive with Joey Logano. For the record, Logano does the same thing with others, so I don't think it's a bad thing to say that. But I thought it was a really compelling early portion of the race. Fans treated it as well as you would expect for Wilkesboro, North Wilkesboro returning to the Cup schedule for a points-paying race for the first time in about 3 decades. They've had all-star races there recently, and that in and of itself is a victory, just having meaningful Cup races. I don't think it was as bad as possible. It felt to me more like it raced like Richmond, where it's a short track, but it's really closer to that intermediate style racing than it is actual short track racing. When we return in the fast lane, your teams, your topics. What are guests like Shane Metlin of DNRonline.com, Jerry Ratcliffe, and others, studying as we're in the final weeks before camp begins. We'll ask that in part 1 of Covering the Commonwealth next here in the Fast Lane.
I'll head over heels for the perfect VW SUV. One size doesn't fit all, though, and that's why Volkswagen has an SUV for everyone. From the compact and affordable Volkswagen Taos to the tech-packed Tiguan and the spacious Volkswagen Atlas. No matter which one fits your lifestyle, you'll love the comfort, performance, and safety. Stop by Terry Volkswagen on Forest Road in Lynchburg or check us out online at terrybw.com. Terry Volkswagen. You'll love our cars.
Lunchtime just got an upgrade. Stop by Makadu for our $8.95 weekday special and grab a legendary sandwich at an unbeatable price. Choose from your favorite classics to Coney Island, Betty Bob, Ragtime, or Stogie. Classic sandwiches packed with savory meats and flavors in between fresh bread. Make it a meal by pairing your sandwich with a sidekick, a warm cup of soup, or crispy chips. Great food, cozy vibes, and the best deal in town.
It's time to share, breaking that ball. Just to be there, the only one. Just to be there at Market Dues.
We'll see you at the dues. Hey, small to medium business owners, if you're frustrated with slow IT support, high costs, or paying for services you just don't use, it's time for a change. Hi, I'm Colt with We Fix Stupid Computers. We provide reliable on-site and remote support tailored for businesses just like yours. And we go beyond just fixing problems. We empower your staff with real tech knowledge so they can work smarter every day. From repairs to training to full IT support, we save you time, stress, and money. Call We Fix Stupid Computers, 434-525-8590, where smart support meets real savings.
Rain takes a toll on your house, including your chimney. Even when it's not raining, prolonged humidity impacts your chimney. Don't wait for the problem to enter your house. Call Black Goose Chimney Service. Featuring decades worth of experience, Black Goose Chimney Service will assess what your chimney needs and give you honest answers. Because the longer you wait, the worse it gets. Get ahead of the problem. Call Black Goose Chimney Service and visit blackgoose.net.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at JJ Hendrickson 27 and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
As we begin covering the Commonwealth, this is not meant to be a knock on our first guest's colleague at DNRonline.com. This is more making fun of the coach who provided the information.
It's time for your teams and topics. Covering the Commonwealth, a look at teams and topics from around the Commonwealth. Let's start with the JMU Dukes.
Because why we bring that up is simply this. As DNRonline.com covered conference media days for the Sun Belt Conference over the last week and change, here's the amusing part. The JMU Dukes are reportedly down to 3 quarterbacks for their competition entering camp. Shane Metlin of DNRonline.com is with us in the Fast Lane. Shane, this is not a knock on Katie Harper. She is reporting what has been told to her. What in the world? We're down to 3 quarterbacks. That's like everybody in the competition that could be in it is in the competition.
Hey, did I lose you?
Yep, you lost us.
Okay.
So we're down to 3 quarterbacks for the JMU Dukes.
Yes.
Isn't that pretty much everybody?
Yeah, I mean, it is, outside of maybe some walk-ons and things. But, I will be curious to see once they get in the fall camp just how the competition is looking as far as the number of reps people are getting and what we're able to see in practice. But, it kind of fits with what Billy Napier has been doing since he got here. They waited about as long as possibly could to even post a roster because they just didn't necessarily want to tip anybody off of what they have. So everybody knows who the quarterbacks are, but yeah, they've done a pretty good job of protecting like who really might be in the lead to win that job.
So you brought that up. Is this they'd like to have somebody decided Liberty week, Liberty game time when that begins in early September? When's the timeline for really honing in on who will be the starting quarterback?
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how Billy Napier maybe differs from, previous JMU coaches. And you can go back to, Kurt Signetti, not making an announcement really until game time. Like you said, his first FBS season at JMU. You know, that we had a pretty good idea Todd Centeio was going to be the starter then, but they really didn't announce it until, you know, they announced the starting lineups. And some coaches are just a little bit more into that gamesmanship. But it's a true competition, I think, right now. But whether or not they want to know somebody by, you know, a week or two before the first game, or, you know, if they'll still be maybe rotating guys, then we don't really know, I guess, necessarily how Napier wants to do it.
DNRonline.com's Shane Metlin. He's at Shane_DNR Sports, and he's with us here in the Fast Lane. Among things we don't know is what to expect in Billy Napier's first fall camp leading the Dukes. Is the one thing we do know the fact that historically he likes to play a physical brand of football, and you'd imagine camp is going to mirror that?
Yeah, I would think so. You know, you don't want to you know, knock anybody out during camp and not have them available. But, you know, early on, you know, I think games get pretty physical, and you want to you want to set the tone. And yeah, his teams, you know, whether you're a Florida fan that, you know, maybe wasn't happy with their offense, or you're a Louisiana fan that was really happy to have him there, like, I think, you know, physical defense has probably been like a pretty a continuous standard for his teams, whether they've been winning a lot or not.
DNRonline.com. Shane Metlin with us here in the Fast Lane. Shane, we'll wrap it up on this. We still got a moment to go before camp begins, but what are the initial things you are looking forward to as you've initially put your list together of things to monitor?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be that quarterback battle for sure. You know, maybe who steps up at wide receiver. You see, you know, a guy like Davie Belfort is coming out of the quarterback battle, moving to wide receiver. Is he a guy who maybe is going to contribute at that position? And, you know, continue with the offensive theme, I'm curious to see maybe who emerges as the you know, primary running back, because it could be a George Pettaway, it could be a newcomer. You never know. So, yeah, there's a few things, especially on the offensive end, I'm particularly curious about.
Shane, we'll have a chance to delve deeper in the next couple of weeks as camp gets underway. In the meantime, we're appreciative of your time today here in the Fast Lane.
All right. Thanks, Ed.
Shane Metlin, DNRonline.com, and it's Shane_DNR Sports.
Now to the Virginia Cavaliers.
JerryRatcliffe.com, founder and contributor, Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe. Hootie, great to be speaking with you in the Fast Lane. A number of takeaways from ACC football kickoff. Is the biggest one the fact that not only did they bring Bo Prabula, but they've announced to the team and now to the media that he will be the starting quarterback, erasing any level of mystery as camp begins in the next week or so?
Yeah, I think that was important, Ed, just so the fan base will have some idea. Obviously, he made the announcement to the players or to the quarterbacks earlier, but just the fact that people know who the starter is going to be going into fall training camp, I think is kind of has a calming effect on the fan base, not knowing, you know, if that quarterback job is up in the air or not. It's good to always know who your starter is going to be ahead of time if possible. It just adds, I think, a little more stability to the offense and the program, and just eases the fan base's collective minds, if nothing else.
How much of that stability is enhanced by the fact that while they lose offensive line coach Terry Heffernan, he's now going to be the OC for Tavita Pritchard out at Stanford, the offensive coordinator, they bring back a lot of pieces there, and it looks like they beefed up in the running back room from the transfer portal, including Salem, Virginia's Peyton Lewis once again.
Yeah, well, I asked Tony Elliott down there if he, as good as the running game was last year, would he like to take it to another level this season? And he said, emphatically yes, that he doesn't want to just be good, he wants to be dominant, and they certainly have the personnel to do that. They have, if it's not the most experienced offensive line in the country, it's got to be one of the top five, I would think. I think if you go tackle to tackle, they have as many as 48 starts all the way down to 31 starts, I believe. And these guys are experienced. They're big and physical. They've got some depth. And as you mentioned, this might be the deepest running back room they've ever had that I can think of, because they've got 6 guys that are proven qualities. 3 of them back from last year on Virginia's roster, and then 3 transfers, including Peyton Lewis that you mentioned, who could be a beast if he can reach his potential, because not only is he fast, I mean really fast, but he's a big back, and they haven't had a whole lot of those around here in the last 20, 30 years, a big back who can move. So the potential is there. And then you got Pribula, as you mentioned, who's an excellent runner himself. And so I think there's going to be a lot of stuff built around that running game to try to take this team, keep it in the upper echelon of the conference.
As of right now, and you put up at jerryratcliffe.com the fact that Cam Robinson could be back for week 0. I would emphasize could, because in his chat with us, Robinson seemed to be playing it a little more close to the vest. It seems like he'll be back, but the role may not be as many snaps as he normally could be. How do you expect this to go? Or is this the type of deal where it's a thing to monitor in terms of the number of reps and time he gets out on the field in camp, indicating what his role in week 0 could be, Cam Robinson's?
I think they're monitoring everything closely already. I know that they've compared his jumping ability and some other factors like physical things to what his standards were a year ago before the injury, just to see where he is in the rehab. And I think he said he was getting ready to start making cuts. So I think the next couple of weeks will probably tell us a lot about whether he'll be ready for week 0 or not. And certainly he's got to be optimistic, but that's a tough injury to come back from. And a lot of guys have done it in this length of time. Some guys take as much as a year to get back. So I think he's probably on schedule or ahead of schedule. But I don't think they want to take any risks with this guy at all, because he's the heart and soul of that defense. If it means bringing him along slowly the first few weeks, I think that would be the smart thing to do.
JerryRatcliffe.com founder and contributor, Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe. Hootie, great to be chatting with you. We are appreciative of your time. Thank you.
Absolutely, Ed. See you soon.
Now to, just for you haters, left hand up the Commanders.
Madam President of Bowie TV Sports, Candy Waller, is stopping by with us here in the Fast Lane. Seawall, making your lists of things to monitor as camp gets going in the next week and change. What is at the top of your list right now?
At the top of my list right now is just seeing how they start out training camp. Will they start where they left off with mandatory minicamp, with all of the energy and intensity at a very high level? That is what I'm anticipating. I'm not really thinking there's going to be a ramp-up period per se. Starting out very fast, high energy, high intensity, that is what is at the top of my list.
So you mentioned the level of intensity of what to expect for the Washington Commanders at the start of camp. And part of that is the role of Jaden Daniels. He's been banged up at portions of his career, but it looks like he's in the right spot health-wise. Are you expecting him to be eased in, or do you expect him to want to start with a level of intensity where he can set the tone with new offensive coordinator David Blau?
I think he's going to be wanting to start with that level of intensity. There's been quite a bit of photos, overall footage of Jaden Daniels with a lot of his offensive assets and offensive team members, them working out during this off-season period. So while they've gotten that continued time on task during this time, I would expect, and I would probably bet that he would even expect for them to be starting at a high level.
Candy Waller, Madam President of Bowie TV Sports, with us here in the Fast Lane. Seawall, there are a number of things that I have in terms of my projection bucket to start for the Washington Commanders. A lot of them are optimistic, at least in terms of individual players standing out. Sonny Styles is one of those. He looked good in minicamp, but this is a different deal once the pads go on in particular. Are you expecting that to be the time where we need to see more out of him? What is your assessment of the Sonny Styles angle in terms of taking his game to the level as the intensity ramps up?
I think you'll definitely see them with the pads come on across the board, but we are talking specifically Sonny Styles. I'll be looking at August the 12th in the first joint practice against the Miami Dolphins. That's with everybody, really. But really for him and others, it will definitely be that first joint practice of the training camp season.
Madam President, Candy Waller of Bowie TV Sports with us here in the Fast Lane. At some point, we'll play Grade My Outlook for the Commanders. I've made some projections on them. We will do that when we have a little bit more time, maybe next time with Candy Waller here in the Fast Lane. In the meantime, we might do it as camp goes underway. That way you can tell me if I'm onto something or if I'm going to have to brace myself for my projections to blow up in my face, which usually happens. Seawald, thank you for your time in the Fast Lane.
Thank you so much, and I'll be talking to you guys again soon.
Indeed. Madam President of Bowie TV Sports, Candy Waller, with us here in the Fast Lane. When we return, part 2 of covering the Commonwealth, the Hill City Howlers, starting to get things back in order, plus NASCAR in North Wilkesboro and the Virginia Tech Hokies at the ACC kickoff. All of that still to come. This is the Fast Lane.
Learning for your family isn't just a school year thing. This summer, teach smart money habits that last a lifetime. Open a youth or basic savings account at Farmers Bank and help build a strong financial future from the start. It's simple, safe, and a great way to turn small savings into big opportunities. Stop by our Timberlake Road location or any Farmers Bank branch and open an account today, because good habits start early, and we're here to help them grow.
Big transitions feel like big hurdles. That's why Central Virginia Counseling has 2 dynamic 6-week summer groups for rising 6th and 9th graders packed with essential life skills. Each week targets a new skill for success, tools like organization, time management, task initiation, anxiety reduction techniques, and skills for making friends and communicating well. Through peer connection and expert guidance, students will gain tools to feel capable, connected, and ready for day one. Visit us on Timberlake Road or Wigington Road in Lynchburg or at centralvirginiacounseling.com to learn more.
Summer is here, and there's no better time to find a place you'll love to call home. Whether you're looking for a cozy apartment, spacious townhome, or a quiet single-family home, Brownstone Properties has options designed for your lifestyle and budget. Enjoy the season with comfort, convenience, and peace of mind. Don't spend another summer searching. Let Brownstone Properties help you find your perfect home today. Visit brownstoneproperties.com or call 434-385-1025.
Brownstone Properties, where home is at the heart of everything we do.
Lower your energy use. Lower your bills. Call Concord Mechanical. With decades of hands-on experience, their expert team specializes in high-efficiency upgrades designed to slash your monthly energy costs. They don't just install the equipment. They optimize your entire home's performance, from precision maintenance that prevents costly breakdowns to modern, eco-friendly systems that pay for themselves. Call today or visit theconcordmechanical.com to schedule your service. Concord Mechanical. Experience you can trust. Savings you can see.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at JJ Hendrickson 27 and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
It's been a long time coming. Not our guest. The topic in part 2 of
It's time for your teams and topics. Covering the Commonwealth. A look at teams and topics from around the Commonwealth. Let's start with the Hill City Howlers.
their broadcaster, Jason Prill at JasPrill19. With us here in the Fast Lane. Jason, the Hill City Howlers, they knocked off the Fred Nats, 10-7 yesterday, and they earned their first series win in a month and change, 2 months and change, since the first week of May. First of all, was there a level of excitement and relief in that Hill City Howlers locker room after the win and what it means?
Yeah, absolutely, Ed. I think this was a big win coming out of the All-Star break. You know, this is the time of the year where, I mean, you're dealing with 18 and 19-year-olds who aren't used to playing 132 games. And so getting a little bit of a break at this point in the season, having nearly a week off before getting right back to it, taking a vacation, that does wonders for a lot of these guys. There's talent here, and there's more talent on the way at some point as the draft guys start to arrive. And so there's a lot to be excited about. They're coming home to face off against Delmarva. So this is a big momentum swing in their favor.
So that part is big for the Hill City Howlers. Is it reasonable to say this performance in particular, offensively, the bats are starting to finally come alive more consistently?
Yeah, I think so. I think the lineup has always been the strong suit of this team. That and most of the time the starting rotation has been pretty good. It's been the bullpen that has struggled. But the lineup, it's had guys jumping in and out at times, and injuries have played a factor. You think about losing Robert Arias, and now you think about losing Yunaiker Caceres, who was called up right before the All-Star break. So there have been some changes, and I was kind of wondering coming out of the break what we might see, but it was really encouraging that the bats came out hot. They came out firing. And Fredericksburg's a really good team. They already clinched a playoff spot in the Carolina League. So to see the bats perform like they did, I think that's a big table setter for the next few weeks.
A bit of a random note before we look ahead to Delmarva and the series beginning Tuesday night over at City Stadium for the Hill City Howlers. Air quality is the reason the game was postponed Friday night. I know the game was up in Fredericksburg, a little bit different air quality up there. It can get real dicey, that area, especially in the summer with the heat and humidity up in the D.C. area. Have you ever seen anything like that, though?
Not as a broadcaster of a team, but I was actually in Cleveland this past week, and they had air quality numbers above 500, which puts it in the top 5 most dangerous air quality cities in the country for one day. So I had to survive through that for about 24 hours, and it was a bit weird. I had never seen it happen for a minor league team, though, like it did for the Howlers. But it did happen for their major league affiliate that night as well. So just a strange situation all the way around.
Jason, we know Independence Day is a big day for the Hill City Howlers. How big is this Friday going to be against Delmarva with Southpaw Championship bobblehead giveaway night?
I think it's going to be huge. Everyone loves to look back upon what happened last year and bringing back some Hillcat stuff and Southpaw. I think is going to be just a big motivating factor for the crowd to come on out and support this team. Hey, they're not out of contention. They are still right in the thick of this. And with about 2 months left to go in the schedule, there's a big pennant push that can still happen. And so I think Friday's going to be a lot of fun. I think the bobblehead's a great giveaway. It's always fun to look back upon a championship season. Always great to look back upon some amazing Hillcats memories. So I think there's a lot of reasons to be out of the ballpark this Friday.
Jason Pearl, broadcaster, Hill City Howlers, hanging out with us today here in the Fast Lane. Jason, good to chat with you. We will also keep it locked to JasPearl19 on Twitter and Instagram, as well as hchowlers.com and hchowlers on the socials for more information.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ed.
Now to NASCAR.
Andrew Stoddard was there for frontstretch.com, there being North Wilkesboro, as NASCAR made its points-paying race return to North Wilkesboro for the first time since the mid-90s, about a 3-decade hiatus for that, although they have raced the All-Star race for the last couple of years at North Wilkesboro. Did it still have a special feel last night for you and everyone who was at North Wilkesboro?
Oh, yes, definitely. And I mean, it was my first time there personally, and just walking in and, you know, seeing the crowds who were getting ready to take the green flag, you just feel the electricity, well, both figuratively in the crowd and literally with the thunderstorm beforehand. And just feel the energy, and could feel the history, and yeah, it was great. I think it was a great night for the sport.
Overall, it's good. The vibes were strong at North Wilkesboro. The track, how much in your eyes, having been there, indicated it is the right blend of modern touch-ups, but also levels of nostalgia?
Yeah, I think it had a good balance of that because, certainly the grandstands, the media center, a lot of buildings were renovated when they started, kind of building back up during 2021, 2022, but it still has some of that exterior feel of kind of traditional days. Like there's the signage that says NASCAR Cup Series, but it's red and in that old kind of Winston Cup style font. And then as for the track itself, I thought it was a really solid race with multiple groove racing and ability to move through the field. And Joey Logano won it from 11th.
Andrew Stoddard, frontstretch.com, stopping by with us here in the Fast Lane. You referenced the Joey Logano victory. Was this a good race? I know Jeff Gluck has his poll for the other website, not the frontstretch.com greatness, but another website that wants to be as good as frontstretch.com. We say that lovingly, of course. But was this a good race overall that just featured a dominant driver, or was this more of a snooze fest, as some people have said?
See, this is kind of a situation where I would like that it's a good poll to kind of have more layers to it. Like I would say slightly yes. Like I said, there's, even though Logano was dominant at the front, 323 of 450 laps led, there was some movements around further down in the field. I mean, Ryan Blaney, for instance, going from the rear to made its way up into the top 10. Then he had that speeding penalty, but even then rallied to 11th. So I would say, like, on a scale of 1 to 100, like Eric Estep's groovy gauge, I give it like a 65, 66%.
I like your idea that this needs more nuance. Do people lose sight of the fact that the racing was actually rather entertaining through the first stage of the event? It was really once Logano seized the lead that there may have been side-by-side racing, just not for the front.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was a race that had more of that old school short track feel, which is, fitting considering the venue of North Wilkesboro Speedway. So, I mean, not every race is going to be, like Atlanta 2024, 3 wide to the line, separated by doubts of a second. There's going to be some variety, and in the finishes and the style of racing, and I believe that's a good thing for the sport.
Overall, Joey Logano gets the victory in dominant fashion. Is he back to being a contender, or is it premature and prisoner of the moment to say that after just one race?
Ed, I keep telling people, never count out Joey Logano in the even numbered year. I kind of knew deep down he was going to find his way above the chase cut line, and he has, and that's a pretty good margin at that, 49 points above, with 5 races left until the chase cutoff. So is he back? Deep down the way, I don't think he ever left. I mean, Ford as a manufacturer has been on the struggle bus a bit this season outside of Ryan Blaney, but starting to see between Logano's win yet last night, Blaney's win the week before, we're starting to see that momentum building, specifically for Team Penske, but I think Ford as the manufacturer is starting to wake up a little bit.
Andrew Stoddard of FrontStretch.com hanging out with us today here in the Fast Lane, looking back at the NASCAR race at North Wilkesboro this past weekend. Andrew, last one for you. Is it only a matter of time before SVG wins on a non-road street track?
I think it's going to happen. I think it'll happen. I'm gonna go sometime in 2027. Sometime in the 2027 season, he's going to win on a non-road course, on a non-left right turn track. And I also think he's going to set the all-time road course wins record. In 2027 as well. I mean, he's only one behind Jeff Gordon at the moment. So if they stick with 4 or 5 road courses, it almost seems inevitable. But I think SVG is taking a big step forward this year, and I think next year will be even more so.
Andrew Stoddard, FrontStretch.com, with us here in the Fast Lane. Andrew, a pleasure for us to have you join us today in the Fast Lane. We are appreciative of your time. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
And last but not least, or maybe least, the Virginia Tech Hokies.
Andy Bitter of TechSideline.com was down in Charlotte with us covering the ACC kickoff and generous enough to join us today here in the Fast Lane, including his article about James Franklin stealing the spotlight and playing the hits at the ACC kickoff. Andy, playing the hits. What were the biggest hits of James Franklin meeting the ACC media for the first time at the ACC kickoff, even though he's technically met a lot of us previously?
Yeah, it was just all the same stuff that he said to us, why he hired Brent Pry, and it's tough walking into that situation. Needs smell, feel, and sound like a big-time program. All the stuff that he said over the last, 8 months, he had a brand new audience that was going to be able to hear it. So I think he enjoyed that situation. He had an eager audience ready to hear it. But for some of us who have covered him since, November when he was hired, it's like, I think I've heard these before, but, play it to no audience. That's how they're going to do it.
The hype. We asked your colleague Nick Brown last week about whether he expected James Franklin to play into the hype or not. He did mention he felt like they have won because of the offseason. Was that the extent of playing into the hype, or do you get the impression he's doing more to hype up a Virginia Tech team that most people think is probably a 6 to 7, 8 win team?
No, I don't think he did too much to hype it up too much. And then, that offseason quote, people only quoted half of it. He said, yeah, we won the offseason. We had a great offseason. Now that has to translate over the field. It doesn't mean anything if you don't translate to the field. So and there were a couple quotes he had that I thought people deliberately did not quote the entire thing, and that riled people up a bit, that being one of them. So, I don't think he went out there and said they're going to win the ACC or anything like that. He actually didn't put any kind of, win total or, bowl game that they need to get to or anything like that as a goal of theirs. So I think he was pretty guarded when it came to, setting hype, setting expectations, and talking about, when it's right, we'll know what it looks like.
You've said that for a while. Your colleague Chris Coleman has especially said that as far as not putting a win total on what would be a successful season for James Franklin at Virginia Tech. One of the areas people have deemed it to be worth a success is the physical makeup of the players. Did you get the impression, whether it was seeing the players themselves, including the 3 that you interviewed on the TSL podcast set near ours on Radio Row, or just being around them, that they are making progress to, quote, look physically, in this case, like big-time college football?
If you take Franklin at his word for it, he says he sees the numbers, and the numbers are improved. I would imagine that a full off-season workout with a brand new coaching staff, that would be the case. I'd be alarmed if they didn't improve or went down. Whether I can speak that the entire team looks that way, I can't. I don't know. Hawkins looks pretty well built there. Kamari Copeland always does at ACC Media Days, but they're also wearing suits, and you're comparing them to a bunch of out-of-shape sports writers. So I don't know if that's the best measurement for whether these guys have really taken giant steps. But, it's the offseason. Everybody improves in the offseason from a physical standpoint. So I would have been more alarmed if he came out and said, we're just not improving from that front.
What is your biggest takeaway from Brian White speaking with the media and laying out his plans, including in our chat in the Fast Lane where you listen to podcasts, as well as Tech Sideline podcast, where he spoke with you guys as well?
Yeah, I think he's a sharp guy. You talk to him and you're like, I feel like this guy was born to do this. Growing up in a family with an AD as a dad, and brothers and AD, and other brothers a basketball coach. They've just been around college sports. It seems like second nature to them. It's not a strain or anything. Not to say that it was before from people, but I don't know. He just kind of walks the walk and talks the talk. I mean, everything is about revenue generation and what kind of stones they can unturn and things like that. And I think they're doing a good job so far. We'll see if that keeps up, but good start. And I think he's going to work in concert with James Franklin trying to get this thing turned.
Andy Bitter covers Virginia Tech for TechSideline.com. He's their senior staff writer and part of the group that was down in Charlotte for the ACC kickoff. Andy, blank slate and canvas for you to wrap up our chat today here in the Fast Lane. Your biggest takeaway that not as many people are discussing.
Biggest takeaway that people aren't discussing about the Hokies?
Yes, from the ACC kickoff.
I don't know. I thought it was pretty standard fare of what they were talking about. I thought that my biggest takeaway is that Marcellus Hawkins has jokes. He made a nice little joke about his cooking ability when he was up there at the stage. I will say maybe Hawkins is the biggest takeaway. James Franklin was effusive with praise about him. Saying that he's just like the perfect body type that you want from running back, size-wise and speed-wise in that combination. And, Hawkins was sort of limited in the spring, so you didn't see a whole lot of him out there at full strength, at full speed. And, I think getting that kind of good news from your head coach, who's really after off-season workouts, I think that bodes well for a guy that was one of the underrated running backs in the ACC last year. I think he's going to be really good. I think he could be a 1,000-yard back this year, and Tech fans will be very pleased.
That would be fun for Virginia Tech to see that out of Marcellus Hawkins, and maybe he'll even cook up some ramen in the end zone as well, or at least in post-game celebrations. Maybe he'll give some to you, Andy, while you're putting your articles out.
Yeah, that'd be a deal. I'd take that.
I'm sure you would. You and your TSL staff. Andy Bitter with us here in the Fast Lane. Andy, we are appreciative of your time. Thank you so much, and we will be seeing you plenty more in the next coming weeks.
All right, sounds good.
Andy Bitter, TechSideline.com here in the Fast Lane. That does it for us, Fastlane Ed Lane, where you listen to podcasts, as well as joining us live on W227 BG Timberlake, WBGMA Lynchburg, WMNA Gretna, Danville, Southside. Now, on to Freddie and Harry, joined in progress.
This is Freddie and Harry.